watching news at Prime. Let's bring you this story now. President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed a new proclamation authorizing the Special Investigating Unit to probe allegations of maladministration at the Defense Department. It's in relation to a 2021 tender for the supply and delivery of surgical masks loops. Now, the SIU will need to establish whether due process was followed with the procurement measures. It will also look into whether there was improper conduct by any of the department's officials or employees. The proclamation covers allegations of unlawful and improper conduct which may have occurred between 1 March 2021 and 23 May 2025. Let's bring you this conversation now. The South African National Defence Force has rubbished a City Press report claiming that members withdrawing from the DRC will be surrendering their weapons. The article has been described as irresponsible as well as sensationalist and intends to create panic. The Defence Corporate Communications Director, Admiral Prince Tshabalala, joining us now for clarity on what is going on regarding the withdrawal of troops from Eastern DRC. Admiral, good evening to you. And thank you very much. Good evening, sir. Thanks for your time. Let's start with what you say is a serious lack of understanding on how military equipment is transported during international operations. Just give us in layman's terms, what this process entails exactly.
All right. Sorry, as the National Defence Force, we like to highlight that as we are moving our cargo and our personnel, we will rely more in taking this equipment. For example, there will be trucks that will be hired by the United Nations or the SADC. In this instance, it is the SADC trucks that will then load. Let's say, for example, a tank will be loaded on board a truck, and those trucks will then be escorted by a protection force. So with the issue whether the soldiers are armed without their weapons, normally even it's like we follow the same protocols like when we are boarding a plane. Normally soldiers would not be necessarily be carrying their weapons. Those weapons, hand weapons, will be stored elsewhere and they will be escorted with a bus. Soldiers will normally be on the bus unarmed, but they are under heavy protection. That means that their firearms, their rifles that they rely on is with them, is traveling with them, but as part of the cargo. So these are the standard protocols that we normally enter and we sign for with our counterparts, including all parties that are part of the agreements when we make diplomatic engagements on this particular transit. So I think that in a layman's term, I've tried just to, in a nutshell, to explain how this, in a practical sense, is taking place.
So you go further in your statement saying that what you've just described now is conducted in line with the agreement and protocol established between SADC and the countries involved. What are the specific instructions or requests from Rwanda?
From Rwanda. Rwanda would normally be the one to ensure that we are safe for any attacks that might be perpetrated by other forces that were not part of the agreement. Remember, we have entered, as alluded by the General Rudzani Maponya, that we have entered and had a direct engagement with the M23. And Rwanda, the Rwandan Defense Force, was part of the engagement that we had. So all the signing parties, including the SANDF DRC force commander, they were part and parcel of that agreement. So when we mention that we have signed and Rwanda in this instance will be the one providing protection and escorting all the SANDF DRC troops up until to the safe destination, which is Tanzania in this sense. That is what we are trying to say in a layman's term.
Okay. And so let's make it clear, abundantly clear for the viewers. Are you saying that at no point will South African troops be separated from their weapons? I get the point about personal weapons. I'm talking perhaps about your small firearm that a soldier would be carrying, and that could be regarded as their personal weapons. You're saying that although these are taken away from them, they are still part of the cargo that is being transported by the trucks, and so at some point they will be, if you like, reunited with their personal weapons. At no point will they leave these in Rwanda.
That's precisely what we are trying to explain. So the article make it as if we are now saying soldiers will be disarmed. They are not really disarmed. Always saying that they have to put their weapons in the cargo as part of the cargo as they are escorted. And then once they've reached a safe border, which in this instance is Tanzania, they are reunited with their firearms or their rifles, to put it in a layman's term.
Okay.
So they are not really, there's no disarmament at all this side.
Okay.
Because remember, we entered into a ceasefire and with all the fighting parties. Now Rwanda in this instance is the one that is providing the protection to our forces, the SANDF DRC forces.
There's one particular line, in fact, it's at the end of your statement, where you are urging greater responsibility when reporting on such withdrawals as these could endanger the members. How would they be endangered by the kind of reporting that you are dismissing tonight?
Only what we are trying to explain here is that our personnel is of the safety of our SANDF personnel and SANDF DRC personnel is of our priority. And every time the city press or the author is trying to explain this, she's trying to put more situation whereby who would be enemies that we don't know will then assume that we are now in a vulnerable state. So we are urging that they must take all the precautionary measure to have responsible reporting so that our troops cannot be attacked by other groups other than what they were intended to defend against. That is what we are trying to say here.
All right. As we end the conversation, give us the status update, therefore, on the withdrawal of these troops, because the report does suggest that there is some frustration, particularly as to when the actual withdrawal is going to start happening, and is it safe for them to be transported by bus?
Look, it's not. Let me rather put it this way: these are protected vehicles that are escorting the South African troops. And in fact, the whole contingent of the SANDF DRC is not only the SANDF that is being escorted. We have the Malawans and the Tanzanians. I cannot speak more on their behalf, but I suffice to say that our forces are protected in all sides. And we are confident. There's about approximately more than 30 trucks which have already crossed into a safe zone in Tanzania, and there have been no issues at all. And our morale is continuing. Yes, there's a frustration because troops want to come back home, but we've been following a phased approach as we reported, as the chief SANDF has reported in his last briefing to say this will be a phased withdrawal. There's a cargo that will come to South Africa in advance, and then also followed by non-essential troops. And we're also going to follow with then a group of soldiers who are coming in phases. So we will still keep the public informed as to update the nation as to when are the troops landing in the country. And we are just urging patience amongst both the public and as well as the troops. And at the same time, urging that the author please to refrain from reporting allegations that have not been confirmed with the SANDF. That is very key to us.
Admiral Prince Tshabalala, I appreciate your time tonight and the clarity there. Thank you very much for your time.